today we are going to discuss about the anatomy of ear. The topics under discussion include embryology and anatomy of pinna, embryology and anatomy of external auditory canal, developmental anomalies and the MCQs of the above topics. As we know, the ear is divided into three parts, that is external ear, middle and the inner ear. External ear is further divided into pinna, external auditory canal and the tympanic membrane. You can remember with a mnemonic called as PET, P for pinna, E for external auditory canal and T for tympanic membrane. So, pinna consists of several parts like helix, antihelix, tragus, antitragus and the lobule, which serves as the boundaries, and whereas it consists of triangular fossa, scaphoid fossa and the concha, which is further divided into concha cavum and the cymba conchae. And we have an intercartilaginous area which is devoid of cartilage at the root of the helix and the tragus, called as incisura terminalis. During the endoral approach, that is an approach to the tympanic membrane and the middle ear through the external auditory canal, where the incision is given at the incisura terminalis. Generally, as we know, pinna consists of yellow elastic cartilage, and the skin along the lateral side of the pinna is tightly adherent, whereas on the medial side is loosely adherent. So, any conditions like perichondritis or the furnicle on the lateral side are more painful when compared to that on the medial side. And there are some of the landmarks for the mastoid antrum which we need to remember during the surgery. There are cartilages and the bony landmarks. The cartilaginous landmarks include the cymba conchae, whereas the bony landmarks include the McEwen's triangle and the spine of Henle. And the boundaries of McEwen triangle include: superiorly there is a temporal line or a supramastoid crest. Anteriorly there is a posterior superior segment of the bony part of external auditory canal or post-auricular groove. And posterior inferiorly we need to draw a tangent to meet the above two lines. And now we are going to see about the development of the pinna. Pinna is mainly developed from the first and second pharyngeal arches or branchial arches. First and second branchial arches gives rise to hillocks of His. Hillocks of His is nothing but the 6 mesodermal thickenings which are formed by the first and second branchial arches or pharyngeal arches. These mesodermal thickenings, that is hillocks of His, gives rise to pinna. Generally, the first hillocks gives rise to first tragus, whereas the 5 hillocks gives rise to rest of the pinna. The first arch forms the first hillocks which forms the tragus, whereas the second arch gives rise to 5 hillocks which forms the rest of the pinna. Here is the diagrammatical representation where the first and second brachial arches gives rise to 6 mesodermal thickening called as hillocks of His or auricular tubercles, which forms the tragus and the rest of the pinna. Now we are going to discuss about the external auditory canal. The anatomy of external auditory canal. It is generally 24 mm long and it is divided into two parts, that is bony and cartilaginous part. The bony part is almost 16 mm long, whereas the cartilaginous part is 8 mm long. As you can see in the picture, this is the cartilaginous part and this is the bony part. The part of external auditory canal adjoining to the cartilaginous pinna is cartilaginous. So, the cartilaginous part is almost 8 mm long and which is completely developed at the birth, and the skin at this region is very thick and it contains ceruminous glands which are the modified sweat glands or the apocrine glands, and the course is upwards, backwards and medially, and at the floor of the cartilaginous part is deficient, which is called as fissures of Santorni. You need to remember that any parotid infection can track through these fissures and can involve the external auditory canal. Similarly, infections in the canal may lead to the involvement of the parotid. And next we are going to discuss about the bony part. Bony part is 16 mm long, which is not completely developed at the birth, which doesn't have any hair follicles or ceremucinous glands. So you need to remember that any furnicles are located only at the cartilaginous parts, because only cartilaginous part consists of hair follicles and ceremucinous glands, and the direction is downwards, forwards and medially. And there is a narrowest part in the external auditory canal, especially in the bony part of the external auditory canal, called as isthmus, which is located 16 mm laterally to the tympanic membrane. And after that, there is a dilation at the floor of the external auditory canal near the bony part, called as anterior meatal recess. And at the anteroinferior aspect of the bony part, there is a deficient called as foramen of Husky. Here the infections can travel to the parotid gland, and from the parotid, and the infections can track into the external auditory canal. This form potential paths to spread the infection to and from the external auditory canal, as well as from the parotid and to the brain of the skull, base of the skull. Development of external auditory canal. External auditory canal is mainly developed from the first pharyngeal cleft. The first pharyngeal cleft grows medially and forms the external auditory meatus. Generally, as we know, cartilaginous part is completely developed at birth, whereas the bony part is not completely developed at birth. There are some of the developmental anomalies. Some of the developmental anomalies include preauricular sinus, microaortic anortia, colorectal fistula and Darwin's tubercle. Now we are going to discuss about the preauricular sinus. Preauricular sinus is mainly due to the failure of fusion of the first and second pharyngeal arches, which is seen in between the tragus and the ascending limb of the helix, that is above the tragus or at the root of the helix. And the sinus may get infected and discharge on and off. The treatment is mainly by the surgical excision. The next topic is microaortic anortia. Microaortia is generally defined as the small pinna, whereas anortia is the complete absence of the pinna. The main treatment is reconstruction of the pinna, which is done only at or after the age of 6 years, because there are other reasons like pinna attains the adult size only after the 5 years, and so that you can compare the normal side with that of an abnormal side. And the second thing is the costal cartilage which is used as a graft gets developed by 6 years. The next thing is Darwin's tubercle. Darwin's tubercle is nothing but a thickening on the posterior superior portion of the helix, which is mainly due to the unequal turning of the helix in the fetus. It can be a bilateral or unilateral. Next is developmental anomalies of the external auditory canal, that is colorectal fistula. Normally, the ventral or the anterior part of this first cleft connects the external auditory canal to the neck disappears, but if it persists, it leads to the abdominal connection between the external auditory canal and the neck, and there is an external and internal opening. External opening is in between the angle of the mandible and the sternocleidomastoid muscle, whereas the internal opening is at the floor of the external auditory canal. And the treatment include the surgical excision. Some of the questions from the above two topics, please try to answer it. Pinna is developed from the, as we know, the pinna is developed from the first and second pharyngeal arches or the brachial arches. The next question, true regarding the mark below. As we know, this condition is the preauricular sinus. Preauricular sinus, as we know, preauricular sinus is mainly due to the improper fusion of the first and second pharyngeal arches. That is the improper fusion of the auricular tubercles. Auricular tubercles are nothing but the hillocks of hairs which are formed by the first and second brachial arches. So the answer is 1. External auditory canal is mainly formed by the medial growth of the first brachial cleft, that is first groove. The next is coroidal fistula is, the next thing is col oral fistula. Col oral fistula is which type of anomaly? Is mainly the col oral fistula is the anomaly of the first brachial cleft anomaly, because col oral fistula is the developmental anomaly of the external auditory canal. So external auditory canal is mainly developed from the first brachial cleft. So any anomaly of the first brachial cleft may lead to the col oral fistula. So the answer is 1. The next thing is a newborn presents with the bilateral microtia and external auditory canal atresia. The corrective surgery usually performed at, as we know, the costal cartilage and the pinna completely developed after 5 years or 6 years of age. So the reconstructive surgery is usually done at the 5 to 7 years of age.